Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So we're studying Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 8, in chapter 8, text 214. The chapter is entitled Talks Between the Lord and Ramananda Roy. Okay, and today's September 22nd, 2023. It's Sri Radhastami, the anniversary of the appearance day of Srimati Radharani. Okay, so I will start with the Bengali words responsively. Anyonye Ishuda Preme Kare Rasa Ushta Hansabara Prema Deki Krishna Aya Tushta Anyonye Vishuddha Preme Kare Rasa Pushta Hansabara Prema Deki Krishna Hoya Tushta Anyonye Vishuddha Preme Kare Rasa Pushta Hansabara Prema Deki Krishna Haya Tushta Anyonye Vishuddha Preme Kare Rasa Pushta Hansabara Prema Deki Krishna Haya Tushta
Anyonye Vishuddha Preme Kare Rasa Pushta
Anyonye Vishuddha Preme Kare Rasa Pushta
Hansavara Preme Deki Krishna Haya Tushta
Hansabara Prema Deki Krishna Haya Tushta
Anyonye Vishuddha Preme Kare Rasa Pushta
Anyonye Vishuddha Preme Kare Rasa Pushta
Hansavara Preme Deki Krishna Haya Tushta
Hansabara Prema Deki Krishna Haya Tushta
Anyonye Vishuddha Preme Kare Rasa Pushta
Anyonye Vishuddha Preme Kare Rasa Pushta
Hansavara Preme Deki Krishna Haya Tushta
Hansabara Prema Deki Krishna Haya Tushta
Vishuddha Preme Kare Rasa Pushta
Anyonye Vishuddha Preme Kare Rasa Pushta Hansabara Prema Deki Krishna Haya Tushta. Okay, we'll go to the word meanings. Anyonye, by one another. Vishuddha, transcendental, preme, in love of Godhead, kare, makes, rasa, the mellow, pushta, nourished, kansabara, of all of them, prema, the love of Godhead, deki, seeing, Krishna, Lord Krishna, haya, becomes, tushta, satisfied. Translation: the transcendental mellow is nourished by that mutual behavior and transcendental love of Godhead. When Lord Krishna sees how the gopis have developed pure love for him, he becomes very satisfied. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srimati Radharani and the gopis are not interested in their personal happiness derived from association with Krishna. Rather, they become happy by seeing one another associate with Krishna. In this way, their dealings are further nourished by love of Godhead, and seeing this, Krishna is very pleased. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayamrupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapara Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Astra Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatanditam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpata Yubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodita Gaudodaya Pushpavanta Chitra Sandantamo Nudal. Offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are just like the sun and the moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Gauda to dissipate the darkness of ignorance in this age of Kali and to wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupas Rupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Ayatam Suratal Kangur Mamamanda Matergati Matsarvasva Padamboja Radha Madana Moana. Glory to the all merciful Radha and Madan Mohan. I am lame and ill-advised, yet they are my directors, and their lotus feet are everything to me. Divayad Vindaranya Kalpajumana Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasta Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Deva Pristalibi Sevyamani Smarami. In a temple of jewels in a forest of Vrindavan, Sri Radha Govinda, served by their most confidential associates, sit upon an effulgent throne. I offer my respectful obeisances unto them. Shri Man Rasa Rasarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karsan Venu Staner Gopir Gopinata Sri Stuna Sri Srila Gopinath, who is the inaugurator of the transcendental mellow of the rasa dance, stands upon the shore at Vamsivant and attracts all the cowherd damsels of Raj with the sound of his celebrated flute. May they all confer upon us their benediction. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Majjhima Lila, chapter 8, and these are the talks between the Lord and Ramananda Roy, text 214. Anyonye Vishuddha Preme Karirasa Pushta Tansabara Premadeki Krishna Hayatushta. The transcendental mellow is nourished by that mutual behavior and transcendental love of Godhead. When Lord Krishna sees how the gopis have developed pure love for him, he becomes very satisfied. And in a short purport, Prabhupada writes, Srimati Radharani and the gopis are not interested in their personal happiness derived from association with Krishna. Rather, they become happy by seeing one another associate with Krishna. In this way, their dealings are further nourished by love of Godhead, and seeing this, Krishna is very pleased. Hare Krishna. So, okay. So, there's many in Prabhupada's writings, and there's many books and verses and sections and chapters all about Srimati Radharani and the gopis, from 5 a.m. this morning till 10:30, and we were reading. We read Radharani's talks with the bumblebee and Krishna stealing the garments of the unmarried gopis, unmarried gopi girls, and we this morning before japa we read some excerpts of a Prabhupada lecture in London in 1969 on Sri Radhastami. All right, so how come I chose this one? All right, so because surely like there's the who is Srimati Radharani, and there's her form and the pastimes, and her we read the 25. This is described later in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Srila Sanatan Goswami, the 25 special characteristics of Srimati Radharani, all nectar, transcendental nectar. And I use that word transcendental, trans-empirical, trans-cognitive. We don't use that loosely. Prabhupada wrote a couplet. He wrote an extensive poem to his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and one couplet that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta especially appreciated. Absolute assentient thou hast proved, in personal calamity thou hast moved. So Bhaktisiddhanta appreciated because it gets to the essence of personalism. Absolute assentient. Sentient means possessing. Senses. Senses means desires. If we try to take desires away from the absolute, then we can still say, oh, I believe in God, this and that, but I can do whatever I want, and it's all spiritual. Okay. Like that. I can do whatever I want. No moral. No foundation for morals or ethics. No, absolute assentient. Means in the absolute, their speech. When we become completely self-realized and spiritual, then there's no more talking. No, Bhagavatam is when we become completely absolute and self-realized, then talking really begins. Then dancing really begins. Then eating really begins. Then associating really begins. Then adventure really begins. Okay? So, Janmadhyasa Yataha, how can there exist something in the effect that doesn't exist? And it's just like we're attracted to romantic relationships. So how can we say, but the absolute can't have any of that? We're attracted to speaking and dancing and eating and friendship and adventure. But in the absolute, it's just like on this monotonous white light. Boring. Right? And if that's the goal of spiritual life, then of course let me just try to get as much juice out of some material gratification as possible, because it's empty. So so this is and just like these literatures, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, the transpersonal authorship of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Shukadev Goswami, Lord Chaitanya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahayani. He's a combined incarnation, avatar, Radha and Krishna. And so Lord Chaitanya was known to be very strict. He took sannyas, the renounced order. He was very strict, even like if If a woman was singing, he wouldn't go near the singing to not be attracted. He was like very strict in his austere vows, really strict, okay, like that. Same with Shukadeva Goswami, so sudden, no interest in anything material. Right? Even there's a pastime in the Bhagavatam. Shukadeva Goswami was passing along, and there was a lake, and there was young damsels bathing in the lake. They didn't even bother to cover themselves like they would if a man passed. They would cover themselves. They didn't bother because they experienced Shukadeva Goswami. Shukadeva Goswami, he wasn't seeing anything about the body. There was no distinction about gender or anything like that. Just he was completely absorbed in the bliss of spiritual life. Okay, so Lord Chaitanya was so strict, and that's true. At the same time, it wasn't like some dry austerity. For example, there's one pastime where Lord Chaitanya is at Jagannath Puri, and he has his different assistants and servants, and he's at the Jagannath temple, and there's one lady who was so eager to see Lord Jagannath, but she was relatively short, and she couldn't see Lord Jagannath, and so she wasn't really aware what she was doing, but she climbed on Lord Chaitanya's back to see Lord Jagannath. So his assistant was like, "Get down! What are you can't? What are you doing? Get down!" Okay, and then Lord Chaitanya realized, and then he chastised not the woman, he chastised his assistant, like, she has such eagerness, such love to see Lord Jagannath. If I could have a drop of that, my life's successful. This spirit soul is like that. Hare Krishna, welcome. And so, yeah, we were given this example earlier when we were having some talks in the kitchen around prasad preparation. Yeah, we can move up. We got plenty of space. Good to see you all. Welcome. And so it's like we gave the example. We gave the example that Srila Prabhupada, he gives in his purport at the beginning of the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So in that chapter, at the beginning, Lord Chaitanya gives a brilliant, well, Lord Krishna gives a brilliant metaphor. And it's the metaphor of the banyan tree. The metaphor of the banyan tree. And it's Lord Krishna talks to Arjuna. And he talks about there's a tree with its branches down and its roots up. Where do we see a tree with its branches down and its roots up? What's that? Trees have its branches up and its roots down. Huh? But there is such a thing. So if we're standing on the bank of a river or a lake, and on the other side there's a tree, the reflection has its branches down and its roots up. So the idea is material life means life in forgetfulness of who we are as not the body, as timeless spirit souls, as servants of God. So then, okay, we're using the reflected tree metaphor in, let's say, modern, postmodern imagery. We could say like a virtual reality game. Okay, a virtual reality game. I've never done it, but my understanding is one hooks themselves up, and then you get this character in the game, and oh, my character, it's doing real well. Oh no, it's terrible. And there's they got trees and there's rivers and sky and a house and like that. Virtual reality. I'm doing good, but an objective observer can see and say, no, you didn't just win $1 billion. You're not being chased by a tiger. That's just the shadow game. That's just the shadow game. Wake up to your real life. Now in real life, there's no trees, there's no river. No, there is. There's real trees, there's real river. Don't settle for the mirage stuff. Don't settle for the mirage stuff. So that's what, so Krishna's saying, like, so sure, there's the reflected tree in the water, just like we can try to grab a fruit, grab the mango from, but there's no substance there. So that's like the virtual reality. That's like to the extent that we're invested in the illusion that I'm this David Wolf character, I'm this body. Okay, then that's the extent of happiness available. Okay, same sort of analogy. This one is sleeping in a dream, and in the dream, I might be like, I'm being chased by a monster. I'm enjoying like a king. I'm flying like a bird. Happiness, distress. But again, an objective observer can go, you're sleeping horizontal on a bed. There's no monster. You're not in a big palace, and you're not flying like a bird. You're sleeping horizontal on the bed. So whatever. No, but good dream, bad dream. Once it doesn't matter. Wake up to your real life. So that's what this whole Sri Radhastami festival is about. And so there's many philosophers, even rock and roll lyricists, or many poets. The idea is this is all an illusion. You'll find that it's a grand illusion. Those realizations are fairly common, and they're nice. They're nice. Then Prabhupada makes the point in his purport there at the beginning of 15th chapter that the reflected tree is all illusion, but that's only half the circle. He gives a geometrical metaphor. That's 180 degrees. So you say, so it's all illusion. Or another example Prabhupada gives, let's say if an animal sees a thirsty animal, hot desert, it sees a mirage in the desert. It sees a mirage in the desert. It's just 50 yards that way. No, it's 100 yards that way. It runs out. And eventually the animal, could be a human animal, dies because there's no water. But that's not true. There is water. There's just not any water in the desert. We need to know where to look for the water. Right? Yeah, we need to know where to look for the water. So there's a real banyan tree. There's other 180 degree circle, and that's what these pastimes are about. Waking up to our real life. And so in the completeness of spiritual life, there's dancing, and there's relationship, and there's words, and there's form, and there's color. Okay, and it's relationship, form, color, personality that moves us to a pure place, deeper in self-realization, deeper for enthusiasm, for self-realization, deeper for inspiration to serve God, Sri Sri Radha Krishna, with love and devotion, with love and devotion. So today is a especially special day on the Vaishnav calendar. Vaishnavism is another term for Krishna consciousness or bhakti yoga. Hence the appearance day of Srimati Radharani. Radharani, you might say she's the feminine counterhole of the absolute. The feminine counterhole of the absolute. We're maybe familiar with this mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's a 16-word mantra composed of 3 words. I'll mention as an aside for those who already know. In the 1990s, I did my PhD dissertation on the effects of chanting Hare Krishna on variables like reducing stress, reducing depression, increasing life satisfaction. And according to the statistical analysis, it works. Now, of course, those who are chanting Hare Krishna, they don't need David Wolf's dissertation to know they're chanting Hare Krishna word. But still, we've had many, they don't have any trust in the Vedas or Chaitanya Charitamrita like that. It's rigorous social science research. Let me try it, and they get, this stuff really works, and it's from this ancient tradition. So 16 words, but really the mantra is composed of 3 words: Hare, Krishna, Rama. All are names of the divine, names of God, and Hare is that that's a name of Radharani. So actually most of the mantra is about the feminine essence of God, the feminine essence of a divine. And that's a big and deep subject. And so, all right. So in the purport, Prabhupada writes, Srimati Radharani and the gopis are not interested in their personal happiness derived from association with Krishna. They're not interested in it. What are they interested in? Rather, they become happy by seeing one another associate with Krishna. In this way, their dealings are further nourished by love of Godhead, and seeing this, Krishna is very pleased. So we can get into what's Srimati Radharani. She's the greatest, most loving servant of Krishna. Ekaleshvara Krishna Arasabha Vricha. And what's her mood? I mean, sometimes you can get to esoteric discussions. That's why we said back in the kitchen 2 hours ago or so that, okay, the essential mood of the gopis, Gopi Bhava, the essential mood of Srimati Radharani, is embodied by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami at about the age of 70 years old. Penniless, he had the rupee equivalent of $7 in 1965. And so he boards not a luxury liner. It was a cargo ship called the Jaladuta. And he crosses the ocean, has 2 heart attacks on the way. He's completely dedicated to serve Srimati Radharani and her mission. So that's the mood, and it's described here. So as we said a few minutes ago in the kitchen, so Prabhupada, well, first he landed in Boston, ended up in Butler, Pennsylvania after a few weeks, went through Philadelphia up to New York, and like that. So you can say, oh, well, in the New York metropolitan area, Prabhupada saw there were no devotees of Srimati Radharani. But he didn't see that way at all. He saw, no, in the New York metropolitan area, there's 13 million devotees of Srimati Radharani. It seems maybe all of them have forgotten that. And then I've come from Vrindavan, where everyone identifies Jai Radhe as a devotee of Sri Sri Radha Krishna. And so I've come on the mission, serving the mission of my spiritual master, to give my 100% sincere devotional effort to awaken that. So again, many chapters in the Bhagavatam about the rasa dance between Krishna and the gopis. This morning, there's the gopis attracted by Krishna's flute, and Srimati Radharani's discussion in my personal reading Krishna book towards the final chapters. Radharani is at Kurukshetra. That's the essence of the Jagannath Baladev Subhadra pastime, and she's associated with Krishna at Kurukshetra. Essentially, though, what we're hearing is Srimati Radharani is inspired, interested, enthusiastic to expand the rasa dance, to inspire other, because like everyone's looking for bliss, everyone's looking for knowledge, everyone's looking for eternity. Satchidananda, we've heard that. Satchidananda Vigraha. So eternity, knowledge, bliss. Right? A quote by the Greek philosopher Epictetus: one should mold one's life such that one's happiness depends as little as possible on external things. So this is the essence of Krishna consciousness, of the appearance of Srimati Radharani, to detach from the illusion that if my virtual reality character, which is this stuff, my virtual reality, my dream character, if it just gets a raise at work, if it just gets this partner as a romantic partner, if I could have a Mercedes, then I'd be happy, peaceful, blissful. St. Francis said, we're searching for what is searching. Okay? We're searching for what is searching. means we're searching externally for that which, for those experiences, those qualities that are intrinsic to the soul awakened to itself, that are intrinsic to the soul turning towards itself in self-discovery, the soul making a devotional turning of consciousness to the absolute, a personal name for the divine, the absolute, Sri Sri Radha Krishna, Sri Sri Radha Krishna. Then all those experiences that we're naturally seeking, joy, fulfillment, peace, vibrancy, satisfaction, security. So that's where they are. So we're searching it. So it means, so this is about a most internal, contemplative, courageously introspective life to connect with the innermost stratum of the living soul. And that's the soul because we can, because like, to the extent that we're thinking that I'm the body, an external body, to the extent that we're thinking I'm the body, we can talk, let's have a deep conversation. Let's really connect deeply, but it's all superfluous because it's all based on the illusion that I'm this dream character, I'm this virtual reality character. So a little more closer to the essence. So like there's gross matter as a metaphor, right? So like I'm not the hardware of the computer. So the hardware represents earth, water, fire, air, ether. Not that we want to neglect the body, like we don't neglect our car, we take care of it. It serves us on our journey. But if while driving the car, I'm under the illusion that I am this car, and by filling it up, I've slaked my thirst. No, you haven't drank any water for 2 days, and you haven't eaten anything, and you haven't taken a bath or a shower for a month. You're not doing well. No, I just took it to the car wash. No, that's the car. That's not you. Okay. So what's it mean to nourish the driver of the car, the spirit soul? So we're not the software either. The French modernist philosopher Descartes, I think, therefore I am. So he had realization, he's not the body. He didn't quite come to realization, he's not the mind. Just like I pick up things with my hand, I walk with my legs, I speak with my mouth and tongue. Okay. And I think with my mind, I'm not my legs. I'm not my legs. I use my legs for a function. Similarly, I'm not my mind. I use my mind for thinking. So I'm not the hardware, I'm not the software. So realizing, oh, okay, so I'm this irreducible quanta of consciousness that inhabits, that's encased in a subtle material body and an external material body. Right. So then that's getting more to the essence. At the same time, I can realize I'm not the ultimate, I'm not the very substratum of existence. I'm not the ultimate source of everything. Even, okay, I'm in this body, and there's a lot happen in this body. Right? So there's digestion happening, there's all sorts of blood going through corpuscles. Even when I'm fully awake, I don't have a clue how it's happening. Even when I'm asleep, there's a lot happening. So that means there must be some other spiritual entity taking. Yeah, and that's true. That's called the Paramatma. Krishna I'm the super soul. So there's distinctions. Distinctions are powerful. Knowledge means the capacity. Intelligence means the capacity to make distinctions. So distinction between gross matter and subtle matter, and distinction between the soul and subtle matter, and distinction between the soul and the super soul. And then the very foundation of the super soul, that's Krishna. And so our nature, so we get spiritual knowledge revealed to us to the extent that we create in ourselves a devotional turning of consciousness. That's real life. That's the actual life of that's the inner stratum of the living soul. That's not that's like detaching from the virtual reality game. Sure, we can use the temporary in the service of the eternal, use the relative in the service of the absolute. So this is not a world rejecting practice or philosophy, very world embracing. We get to use everything, and that's the art of bhakti yoga, using the mind, using the car, the literal car, the car that's the vehicle here, using the house, using relationships in service of that pleasure that will never be crushed by time. To whatever extent we're going, whether it's in our relationships or our career, for any sort of gratifications that will at some point be annihilated by time, we will experience anxiety and insecurity. To the extent that we misidentify the eternal spirit self with the temporary material body, the virtual reality character, we will be in anxiety. It's just, and to the extent that we realize who we are as that atomic unit of sentience that animates the body, and as an eternal servant of Sri Sri Radhakrishna, then that's a bliss that nothing can touch. Imagine the worst catastrophe, nothing can touch that. Nothing can touch that. So Srimati Radharani, she's the personification of divine compassion. And so her whole mood and mission, represented by Srila Prabhupada getting on the Jaladuta at 70 years old, right? So we're here in Alachua, Florida, of all places. Actually, interestingly, in 1971, Srila Prabhupada visited Gainesville, Florida, and he actually he was here for a few days, and he gave a talk at the Plaza of the Americas. And in that talk, fascinating, he goes fascinating places. In that talk, he referred to, here we are in this remote corner of the world. Can you imagine referring to Gainesville as the remote? He didn't get that it was like the center of the universe. Somehow or other. Here we are in this remote corner of the world. And here we are. That's because one elderly gentleman, Srila Prabhupada A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, just in the mood of the gopis, Radharani, he wasn't in his own pleasure, his own happiness was taken care of. It was all handled. It was living at Radha Damodar temple, chanting Hare Krishna, writing sublime literature, associating with other devotees in the land of the Goswamis and literature. So it's all taken, but he wasn't interested in it. He had compassion. Naivod Vijay Pradiratyaya Vaitaranyas Tvai Virya Gayana Mahamita Magnachita Soche Tata Sevana Vimukha Indriyarta Mayasukaya Udvahato Vimudan. That's a text by Prahlad Maharaj speaking to Lord Nrsingadev, saying, he said, look, I'm fine, but you will put me anywhere. I'm serving Lord Nrsingadev. I'm serving Sri Sri Radhakrishna, Krishna Matirna Krishna Vartosvato. I'm fine, but I'm not interested in my own liberation, my own happiness. I want to share. It's about like it's not about imposing, but the mood of Radharani is lovingly sharing. We can imagine, let's say, a child has a lollipop, or the child has a nice toy. Oh, I want to share with you. I want you to have this happiness. Like, I want to share with you. So we say, are you trying to impose your values on that other child? Well, no, I'm not meaning to violate. Still, just like I have this like loving enthusiasm. Yes.
You're not connected on Zoom, at least.
I'm not?
Is it saying you are?
Well, oh, I see what's happening. I'm connected on the wrong network. Okay. I'll